right behind me is the real-life Dark Star aircraft that was used on set during the opening scene of Top Gun Maverick. This hypersonic concept jet was actually designed by Lockheed.
On June 17th, deep within the Sierra Madre Occidental Mexico, the Sinaloa cartel operates a heavily fortified underground stronghold, churning out fentanyl on an industrial scale, confident that no one can touch them. But when American satellites detect suspicious activity, a daring operation is set into motion, calling in the B-2 Spirit and the most advanced, deep penetrating weapons. Can the shadows of the mountains conceal them? Or will a precise strike send a chilling warning to all enemies? Drop a comment below and keep watching to reveal the shocking truth. What do you think of this high-stakes operation? Leave a comment, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video to spread this electrifying story. Don't wait, hit the subscribe button now so you don't miss the next explosive content. At 3:14 a.m. on June 17th, the Sierra Madre Occidental Range in Sinaloa, Mexico, lies still veiled in a thin blanket of fog with no engines humming, no lights flickering, and no signs of movement. But hidden deep within the mountains beneath a cluster of decaying wooden houses and deserted livestock pens, the Sinaloa cartel runs its most heavily fortified underground stronghold. A complex network of tunnel storage rooms and a command center carved straight into the rock, reinforced by 3 layers of concrete and guarded by Los Antrax, the cartel's elite security force. Equipped with infrared cameras, seismic sensors, and armed checkpoints operating around the clock, they see this place as an impenetrable fortress. But just weeks earlier, a series of subtle signals shattered that sense of security. Optical and infrared satellite images from the United States caught camouflage trucks arriving under the cover of darkness, stopping at an abandoned granary and then seemingly disappearing into the earth. Thermal data exposed persistent heat signatures deep within the seemingly dormant rock, confirming the operation of a full-scale fentanyl production line. The DEA, working closely with Mexican naval intelligence, received a crucial tip from an insider. Within 72 hours, a massive fentanyl shipment enough for tens of millions of doses was set to cross the border into California. With ground assault options off the table, a different plan had to be devised. The treacherous routes, booby-trapped tunnels, and heavily armed guards made any ground assault impossible. Conventional airstrikes were ineffective. The mountain's reinforced structure would simply absorb the force of any explosion. In Washington, a U.S. Air Force general stated plainly, "We need a strike that's deep enough, quiet enough, and decisive enough to ensure no one inside escapes." The only viable option deployed the B-2 Spirit, carrying the GBU-72B Hellspike, the most advanced bunker-busting bomb engineered to penetrate deep into its target before detonating from within. The Mexican government swiftly granted approval. The operation, codenamed Operation Silent Dagger, had 3 clear objectives: destroy the underground facility, recover or neutralize all evidence and intelligence, and send an unmistakable message to every transnational criminal organization: no place is beyond reach. At Whiteman Air Force Base, technicians meticulously checked every detail of the B-2 Spirit, preparing for a flight that would span over 5,000 kilometers non-stop. Meanwhile, in the Sierra Madre Occidental, Los Antrax guards huddled around a campfire, confident that the darkness and hundreds of feet of rock would shield them from any threat. What they didn't know was that the clock had already started ticking. When the final countdown reached 0, the mountain would cease to exist. 2 days earlier, on June 15th, in a secure briefing room at the U.S. Naval Base in San Diego, California, a large screen displayed satellite imagery of the Sierra Madre Occidental, marked with red circles pinpointing the coordinates of the Sinaloa cartel's underground fortress. The blue glow from the screen illuminated the faces of those gathered U.S. Navy officers, U.S. Air Force commanders, DEA representatives, NGA, intelligence personnel, and Mexican CMAR Navy generals. The strong aroma of coffee mixed with the palpable tension in the room. As the latest report was presented, nighttime infrared imagery revealed an unusual heat signature stretching from the northern region to the Pacific coast, perfectly aligning with the cartel's smuggling route by sea to the U.S. The DEA confirmed a recent delivery of precursor chemicals to the facility, with an inside source verifying that a record-breaking fentanyl shipment was set to depart within 48 to 72 hours. No one in the room questioned the urgency of the situation. The only concern was how to strike the target effectively without triggering open conflict between the two nations. A ground raid was the first option analyzed, but it was quickly dismissed. The rugged terrain, steep cliffs, pressure-mined tunnels, and prior drone reconnaissance had revealed heavy machine gun nests guarding every entry point, making casualties almost inevitable. The second option, a conventional airstrike using F/A, 18E/F, or F-35 jets, was also ruled out. Structural simulations from engineers showed that the mountain's rock and reinforced concrete would absorb most of the energy from conventional bombs, causing only surface-level damage and providing the cartel with enough time to evacuate or rebuild. A colonel from the U.S. Special Operations Command spoke quietly, his voice steady. "If we don't destroy it from the inside out, we'll never destroy it." The third and final option was then proposed. Deploy the B-2 Spirit from Whiteman AFB in Missouri, armed with the GBU-72B Hellspike, America's most advanced bunker-busting bomb. Capable of penetrating over 250 feet of rock and concrete, the bomb would detonate at pre-identified structural weak points determined through 3D modeling and AI analysis. The internal explosion would collapse the entire tunnel network in mere seconds. The key advantage: it would be completely silent with no warning and no need for a single soldier to step foot on enemy soil. The Mexican government, after reviewing the briefing and the 3D simulation of the attack, gave their immediate approval not only for its devastating effectiveness, but also for the opportunity to showcase an unprecedented level of bilateral cooperation. The operation, codenamed Operation Silent Dagger, had three clear strategic objectives: destroy the facility, seize or eliminate all evidence, and send a strong deterrent message to every transnational criminal organization. That afternoon, experts from the NGA and U.S. Navy began integrating the intelligence data. High-resolution satellite imagery, synthetic aperture radar (SAR), scans thermal data, and Mexican LAR. Topographic maps were all fed into an AI-driven battlefield simulation system. The AI system not only identified the tunnel's command rooms and storage areas, but also predicted structural weak points where the bomb could trigger a cascading collapse. Meanwhile, technicians at Whiteman AFB conducted a thorough technical inspection of the B-2 Spirit. The selected pilots, all seasoned veterans of long-range stealth missions through complex air defenses, were briefed with detailed 3D terrain models and minute-by-minute meteorological data for the Sierra Madre Occidental. At the U.S. Naval Base in San Diego, U.S. Navy and CMAR commanders finalized the post-strike plan. Mexican Special Forces were set to deploy UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters to the area once the dust had settled, securing escape routes and collecting any remaining documents, equipment, or evidence. To maintain absolute secrecy, all communications were encrypted to the highest standards. Even on operational channels, the name Sinaloa was never mentioned, replaced instead by the codename Target 47 Delta. At 8 o'clock that evening, the final order was signed. Target details, flight paths, and strike timing were sealed in encrypted data packages accessible only by the pilot's personal keys. In the dim light of the operations room, a DEA officer stared intently at the fortress model on the screen and whispered, "They think the mountain will save them. But this time, the mountain will be their tomb." No one responded. The room was silent save for the hum of printers and the steady tapping of keyboards. Outside, the San Diego night remained calm, untouched by the events unfolding miles away. But over 3,000 kilometers southeast in Sinaloa, Los Antrax, guards leaned against tunnel walls, rifles in hand, their eyes scanning the darkness, unaware that their countdown was ticking faster than ever. At 2:37 a.m. on June 17th, the night sky over the Gulf of Mexico stretched like a pitch-black velvet curtain, speckled only by a few stars and the faint glow of distant storm clouds to the south. At more than 35,000 feet, a B-2 Spirit glided through the air like a phantom, emitting no radar signature. Its engines silent as it cruised over the ground below. In the cockpit, two pilots in gray flight suits were locked in concentration, their eyes fixed on the green HUD display that mapped their flight path through international airspace. They would loop down over the Yucatan Peninsula, entering Mexican airspace through a secretly approved corridor. The navigation system seamlessly integrating military GPS, synthetic aperture radar SAR, and real-time meteorological data was synced directly with the NGA servers and the San Diego Naval Base Command Center. Below in the sealed weapons bay, two 5,000-pound GBU-72B Hellspike bombs lay in wait, poised for activation. These were not bombs designed for deafening explosions or brilliant flashes lighting the sky. These bombs were engineered not to cause deafening explosions or brilliant flashes in the sky, but to drill deep into the Earth, targeting the structure's weakest points before detonating from within. At 3:43 a.m., the B-2 Spirit slightly lowered its altitude, nearing the target. Below, the Sierra Madre Occidental lay still, its dark slopes blanketed in pines and cacti. The cluster of decaying wooden houses and livestock pens concealing the tunnel entrance appeared as nothing more than abandoned ruins. But beneath that facade was an underground complex, command rooms, weapons caches, fentanyl production lines, and tunnels stretching all the way to the coast. The GBU-72B Hellspike sensors were preloaded with 3D geological maps, LAR, structural data, and AI-driven simulations that pinpointed exact locations for a cascading collapse. At 3:47 a.m., the command weapons free crackled through the pilots' headsets. The weapons bay opened and the two GBU-72B Hellspike bombs were released almost silently, streaking toward the target at over Mach 1. No alarms, no streaks of light in the sky, just two steel shadows disappearing into the night. Within 5 seconds of striking the mountainside, the GBU-72Bs burrowed through more than 250 feet of rock and concrete, their internal sensors constantly measuring depth pressure and material density to fine-tune the detonation timing. Upon reaching the structural weak point, the smart fuse triggered a moment of complete silence before the explosive force would tear the mountain apart from the inside. Then the entire mountain shuddered as if a giant heart had pulsed within. Shockwaves ripped through the tunnels, compressing air into destructive pressure waves that shattered walls and support columns. Imagery from an MQ-9 Reaper drone overhead captured the moment the main tunnel entrance bulged and then collapsed, with ventilation shafts belching out white dust like smoke before everything fell eerily silent. There was no fireball, just a massive cloud of dust and rock that surged upward like the mountain's final breath. Inside, caches of precursor chemicals and ammunition ignited in secondary explosions, triggering a cascading collapse that caused the entire area to tilt, swallowing everything in its path. The tunnel floor cracked. Steel walls twisted as though they were made of paper. In less than 12 seconds, the Sinaloa cartel's command and production center in the Sierra Madre Occidental was reduced to nothing but rubble. Meanwhile, hundreds of kilometers off the coast of Baja California, the aircraft carrier USS Carl Vinson and its escort group monitored the operation in complete silence, with underwater seismic sensors registering a 3.8 magnitude tremor at the target coordinates. In the operations room, the screen flashed 3 simple words: "Target neutralized." No one spoke. Brief glances were exchanged, acknowledging the success. The primary mission had been accomplished, but the operation was far from over. In the mountain range, pines and cacti were coated in a thick layer of gray dust. The acrid smell of burning chemicals carried on the wind. Mexican Special Forces deployed in 2 UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters began landing at strategic points around the area. Their mission: secure the perimeter, collect any remaining evidence, and ensure no one had managed to escape within a 10-kilometer radius. Infrared drone imagery showed no signs of life within the collapsed complex. All cartel radio signals in the area had gone completely silent. On the southern slope, the road leading to the sea was blocked by massive piles of fallen rock, while the cartel's cameras and sensors lay destroyed, leaving the once impenetrable fortress in ruins. Only one thing remained: silence. A heavy, suffocating silence pressed on the eardrums. Above, the B-2 Spirit had already left the area, heading north, leaving behind a battlefield devoid of smoke or blood, but utterly devastating. The Los Antrax guards, chemical engineers, and commanders who had once believed the mountain would shield them were now part of the rubble buried deep beneath the earth. And in Washington, Mexico City, and San Diego, confirmation signals from the B-2 and satellite imagery flooded in. A new era in the fight against transnational crime had begun. Do you want this war to end quickly? If yes, comment number 2. If not, comment number 5. Not through prolonged battles, but with a single, swift, precise strike that left no one the time to comprehend what had just happened. At 2:59 a.m., less than 12 minutes after the GBU-72B reduced the Sinaloa underground fortress to rubble, the thermal surveillance system of a U.S. low-orbit reconnaissance satellite detected an anomaly. Amid the dust and chemical ash blanketing the mountain, 8 small heat signatures emerged from the collapsed area, moving slowly but deliberately westward. AI analysis quickly ruled out wildlife. Their movements were too coordinated, their pace consistent with armed humans. The data was immediately relayed to the joint U.S.-Mexico Command Center in San Diego and the Mazatlan Naval Base. Within minutes, the group was identified Los Antrax members, the cartel's elite armed unit carrying at least one satellite communication device and a secure briefcase possibly containing critical data or cash. Off the coast of Baja California, on the deck of the USS Carl Vinson, 2F/A-18E/F Super Hornets, which had been on standby all night, received orders to launch. Flight paths, target coordinates, and predicted movements were uploaded directly to their systems. In the air, an MQ-9 Reaper drone tracked the group from a safe altitude using infrared cameras and laser targeting to relay real-time data to the Super Hornet pilots in the cockpit. At 3:14 a.m., as the Los Antrax group crossed a narrow valley, the Super Hornets descended to 15,000 feet, locking onto their targets with laser precision. 2 GBU-39B small-diameter bombs were released, their guidance wings adjusting seamlessly to the laser signal. On the ground, the 8 gunmen believed they had evaded America's reach. The earth trembled faintly as rocks cascaded down the cliffs. Their heavy breaths blended with the crunch of boots on dry gravel. They had no idea that death was racing toward them at nearly Mach 1. Seconds later, 2 precise explosions too clean to ignite a large fire unleashed shockwaves that obliterated everything within a few meters. As the dust settled, infrared cameras confirmed no heat signatures remained. There were no secondary explosions, indicating that the weapons the gunmen had carried had been completely destroyed. Meanwhile, Mexican Naval Special Forces landed via UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters at high points around the initial strike zone. They split into teams, securing the perimeter and blocking any suspicious movement within a 10-kilometer radius. Another team reached a secondary storage site on the northern slope, finding dozens of barrels containing unused precursor chemicals for production. All were seized as evidence to be destroyed after investigation. Over a secure comms channel, a CMAR commander reported the area clear, confirming that no one had survived. In San Diego, the operation screen displayed secondary target neutralized. There were no cheers or applause, only brief glances exchanged. Everyone knew the hunt was over, but the larger message still reverberated. No one escapes the reach of the combined forces, no matter how fast, deep, or far they hide. In the mountains, the night wind swept through the dust-covered pines, carrying the acrid scent of gunpowder and burning chemicals. Sinaloa had lost its strongest fortress, its elite guards, and its belief that it could hide in the dark. In silence, the special forces began their withdrawal, leaving behind a bloodless but utterly ruthless battlefield where every escape route had been sealed from the sky. As the rotor blades of the last UH-60 Black Hawk faded from the valley, rock dust still lingered in the air, coating the slopes of the Sierra Madre Occidental with a thick gray layer. Beneath what had once been Sinaloa's impregnable fortress, only rubble and the acrid smell of burning chemicals remained. Operation Silent Dagger ended not with prolonged gunfire or rumbling armored convoys, but with a single preemptive strike, swift, precise, and utterly silent. For the United States and Mexico, this was more than just a tactical victory. It was proof of the immense power of unified intelligence, advanced guidance technology, and decisive action in the most critical of moments. For the first time in history, a US B-2 Spirit strategic bomber coordinated directly with Mexican naval forces to destroy a cartel's command, production, and financial hub on Mexican soil, all without a single American soldier setting foot there. The message to transnational criminal organizations was clear and chilling. No hideout is deep enough, far enough, or strong enough to escape the reach of the combined forces. If you hide in the shadows, we will find you. If you dig deep into the earth, we will strike deeper. For Sinaloa, the loss was not just tons of fentanyl weapons and cash, but a devastating blow to their power structure and their belief in the safety of their survival. For the American and Mexican public, this was a powerful confirmation that intelligence cooperation, technological strength, and preemptive strategy could decisively shift the balance in the war against crime. And for anyone plotting in mountain caves, deep forests, or remote deserts, this was a stark warning. You won't hear a sound. You won't see anything in the sky. But when the moment comes, there will be nowhere to run. The Sierra Madre fell silent, but the echo of this strike will resonate far beyond the mountains across borders, serving as a reminder that the darkness is no longer a refuge. Operation Silent Dagger was not just a military success, but a vivid testament to how the United States can leverage technology and intelligence to safeguard national security without putting soldiers' lives at risk. The deployment of the B-2 Spirit from Whiteman AFB, carrying the GBU-72B Hellspike, which penetrated over 250 feet of rock and concrete, showcased the ability to strike with absolute precision at the heart of Sinaloa's underground fortress. This operation served as a textbook example of multi-agency coordination from the NGA's 3D terrain data and the DEA and Mexican intelligence insider tips to the U.S. Navy and CMAR neutralizing the fleeing Los Antrax group with GBU-39B SDB bombs from F/A 18E/F Super Hornets. And that's how Operation Silent Dagger changed the game, obliterating the Sinaloa cartel's most fortified underground stronghold in an instant, sending a chilling message: no place is safe for those who threaten security. From the B-2 Spirit piercing through hundreds of feet of rock to the flawless coordination between the United States and Mexico, this operation is a testament to the power of technology and intelligence. How do you feel about this precise strike? Will criminal organizations learn their lesson? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you found this video thrilling, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share so everyone can know about this historic operation. See you in the next explosive videos.